XSEED English Grade 5 Block number 15 Author's Purpose Lesson Plan 1 Shadow. Students will be able to identify the theme of the poem. Students, let us solve this riddle. It is of one color but not one size. It is stuck on the ground but easily flies. It is present in the sun but not in the rain. It doesn't harm anyone and feels no pain. Can you guess what's the answer of this riddle? Yes, the riddle is talking about a shadow. It is always black in color. It changes its size during the day due to the position of the sun. It disappears at night. It is not human, so it doesn't feel any pain. Today we will read a poem about a shadow. We will read out to find out how a shadow is described in the poem. Turn to the poem My Shadow in your English reader. My Shadow, written by Robert Louis Stevenson, block number 15. Before reading the poem, let's understand the glossary. First, buttercup. A plant with shiny yellow flowers shaped like cups. The girl drew a beautiful picture of a buttercup flower. Errant, traveling without any direction, randomly. One errant kick of the ball stopped the team from winning the football cup. Notion, an idea or an opinion. My notion of freedom is different from yours. Proper, correct or right for a certain purpose. Greeting your elders in the morning is a proper way of beginning the day. Now let's read the poem My Shadow. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow, for he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there is none of him at all. He hasn't got a notion of how children ought to play, and can only make a fool of me in every sort of way. He stays so close beside me, he's a coward, you can see. I would think shame to stick to nursery as that shadow sticks to me. One morning very early, before the sun was up, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. The poet has used similes in both these lines to compare the shadow with a rubber ball and a lazy person. Similes are comparison between two unlike things using the word like and as. The shadow grows bigger just like a rubber ball that bounces very high. It is also compared to a lazy person who does not want to get out of the bed. The poet describes his shadow as a real person, which is fun to be with. The poet's shadow stays with him, goes in and out with him, jumps like him, and plays with him like a real person. He compares the shadow with the coward to explain how it never leaves him, as if it is scared to go out. To explain how his shadow grows, he contrasts it to a child, saying how unlike it is like a child, as it doesn't grow slowly like children. It suddenly shoots up and then disappears. The silly comparisons of the shadow with other things make the poem very funny. The feeling or mood of the poem is happy and playful. Students, take out your volume 2 to page number 35. What does the poet describe in the poem My Shadow? Tick the correct option. The poet describes a day spent with his shadow. The poet describes how troublesome it is to be with his shadow all the time. The poet describes the shadow as a person who is fun to be with. Third option. Tick the third option. The poet described the shadow as a person who is fun to be with. Write the lines from the poem that mean that the shadow plays like a child and make a complete fool out of the poet. He hasn't got a notion of how children ought to play and can only make a fool of me in every sort of way. Explain the meaning of the lines in your own word. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. The size of the shadows changes during the day. The poet is describing this by comparing it with children. He described that his shadow doesn't grow properly and slowly as the children grow. Rather, it suddenly becomes bigger and smaller. Write one simile of your own to describe the shadow. The shadow is as black as the ink.